All right, we're rolling everywhere, guys. You want to welcome us in?
Rolling everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So welcome everybody to our next episode of Arizona Craft Beer Review. We're here with Popeye, affectionately known from PHX Beer Co.
Is that your birth name, Popeye?
Yeah,
That is not my birth name. Jason is my birth name, but I've had the nickname Popeye since the year 2000. So
Why?
it's stuck around. Got it in college. Group of friends. They had a couple of guys with the same names. Jason just happened to be one of them, and they said, "We're gonna call you Popeye." I was like, "No way, that sticks." It has stuck. So
I love it.
Just out of the blue, like you didn't eat spinach as a kid, or
Didn't
have
spinach,
massive forearms,
didn't have massive
no?
forearms, nothing. Just
Well, you're in my phone as Popeye.
Yeah.
That's what you're in there as.
yeah.
So it's-
Most people have me.
Yeah.
as Popeye in my
Nice,
phone, yeah.
nice.
Well, it's good to have you, man, and we're very excited to be here at your downtown Phoenix location. Is this technically downtown, or what do they
Yeah,
call
we're
it?
on 30th Street in Washington, so we're just east of downtown.
Yeah.
Right on the light rail.
Yeah, kind of an industrial area around town. Walter Station Brewery is down the way on Washington. But this one has been here. This is where you guys do all the brewing, right? And then you have the Scottsdale restaurant location and an airport location, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they do all the brewing here, Johann. We came here a couple weeks ago and threw
Yeah.
bags. Johann
I
defeated
would like
us.
to. Yeah, I would like to just
Champion at
just
cornhole.
let everybody know that Matt and Craig, our editor-in-chief, both played against me and lost 2 games. And so I just want to make sure that's
Well, I
on the
mean,
record.
I think Popeye will admit the boards kind of slide a little bit more than what anybody else is used to. So, and he told me he's going to work on fixing.
Oh, okay.
We do have a house set here that we all can play on just fine. And but we understand when people come in, it might not be the boards
Yeah.
and the
Well, you know,
bags they're used
the
to.
industry or the regulation bags actually have a slide, like a slippery side and a sticky side. So
yeah.
depending on what you want to do with your
Oh, is that
shot,
right? Okay.
Yeah.
you flip the bag over.
Yeah.
So
That's different than my front yard
Yeah,
setup.
we'll upgrade at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah. Right on. So, okay, so we got to start with the beer because this is, I think we all have the Oktoberfest in
There
front
you
of
got
us.
there? Okay,
We
that's
do,
what I
yeah.
have.
This, you just released it.
It technically releases. Well, it's in the tap room now. At the restaurant, it'll release on Saturday. So
A little bit of a sneak peek here.
yes, yeah.
What can you tell us about it?
So it's I made this a traditional Oktoberfest. We use Oktoberfest lager yeast. We use some nice caramel malts, some German caramel malts to sort of give that sweetness and that color, that sort of copper color. And then we gave it the full amount of time it needed to ferment, and we just we took care of it, and now we're really enjoying drinking it. So
It's very good. It's very, very good.
Thank
And when I first tasted it, I kind of was like, wow, this is different than some of the other Oktoberfests that we've been drinking the last, couple weeks. It definitely has a crispy, very clean feel, which I think you mentioned is a result of giving it the amount of time. So tell us a little bit about the lagering process and why lagers are different from ales.
So the lagering process in general is really just time. I mean, it's time and temperature differences to ales. Ales you can get done anywhere between 10 and 14 days, and they're going to be done. You're not going to get a whole lot more from them, except for some secondary dry hopping or those sort of techniques. Lagers, on the other hand, are slow, and you do it at a colder temperature, and you just got to give it the full time. You have to actually let it sit in the tank, take up real estate, which is always hard for those of us who don't have a bunch of extra tanks. But it is an important part of the process, and it does basically make it that crisp, clean, easy drinking sort of characteristic, which is what everybody loves about lagers. There's sometimes people can't point out that's why they love that a lager over an ale sort of thing.
And it's great. I love the color. It just rings fall. It's got that orange. I'm gonna move it a little bit closer in front of Popeye's camera here, and then sorry to block your view there, Popeye, but everyone has to see this color for themselves. It's just, it's like a fall drive in a glass. Really.
Yep, I love it. I love it.
And it's it's those caramel malts that we use, and it those malts are what gives it that hue and and that nice little sweetness that sort of comes through, which, like you said, is more like fall, and we're all kind of hoping for it not to be 110 outside anymore. And it's sort of like the first sort of step for all of us native Arizonans of, hey, we're getting out of the heat now because Oktoberfest are, becoming more prominent sort of thing. So.
Our highs are, in the high 90s instead of the, high 100s. So that's fall time for us.
Still hot, but getting better. So.
We can't talk about pool beers for much longer because then people won't know what we're talking about. Wait, what's a pool beer? I'm not getting in my pool with that.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about PHX Beer Co. What you guys have going on here. You guys do a little bit of food here. You guys have a really cool sort of indoor patio kind of space. Tell us a little bit about this.
So we started here in this building in 2019. September of 2019 is when we switched over. The building we're in now used to be Phoenix Ale for anybody who's been around drinking
Phoenix
long enough.
Ale brewer. I got a couple of those glasses sitting on my shelf. Yeah.
I still see the stickers out there, and I still see the shirts, which is great to see.
Camelback Ale or whatever.
Camelback IPA. Yeah. And so in 2019, we actually got new ownership, and we actually scrapped everything that was Phoenix Ale. We started brand new with brand new recipes, just brand new everything. And at the time, there were two people who worked here, and it was Eric, who was our head brewer, Eric Walter, and then me. And as a team, we just sort of grew our footprint of how many beers, and now we make 15 year-round beers that are all brand new recipes that are different. And through COVID and the pandemic and everything, we were able to get our packaging line up and running. And so we started thriving with cans in stores and all those things that sort of happened during COVID when everyone was staying at home, but they were still drinking. They were just drinking at home. So, and now we have expanded our cans since then. But not only that, I mean, we just, we've got to expand our brewing staff. We've added Brian McNair, who's a fantastic brewer that we have. And then our packaging team really does the bulk of the work that we need to do here, because we need to get everything in kegs and cans, and all those guys on the packaging team do a great job. So, and we're looking to keep growing. I mean, every single year the report comes out, we're selling a little bit more beer, which is a good problem to have. And and we're just happy that people around the valley are liking our beer, because it's only available in Arizona. So we're available in Flagstaff and Tucson and Prescott and Sedona, but it's like the valley is still really our home and where we're selling the most of it. So,
yeah.
And so you have two other locations.
The restaurant, Hayden and Via de Ventura, sort of in North Scottsdale, and then Terminal 3 of the airport. We also have handles of some of our beers in Terminal 4 and random restaurants. But
I think we need to do an airport beer review one of these days and just go and visit, because a lot of breweries are starting to move into Sky Harbor.
Terminals.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe we can pull some strings.
Do you guys remember back when you could get into the gates?
Oh yeah.
You could go through security and without a ticket,
wish a loved one goodbye all the way to the end, and
wild.
Yeah. Also pick them up from when they were like right there at the gate.
Yeah.
Right at the gate with a sign or some balloons or something. Yeah. Those were the days.
So you guys have a restaurant at the other one. Tell me about that. The food kind of.
I've been to that one. The food is like the pizza
towards the beer.
Yeah. So the food is geared towards the beer. We do have pizzas, wings, all the sort of normal bar things you would think. But we use the beer in the actual cooking and stuff. So our wings are marinated in Morenci, and it's sort of we try and basically just make sure everything's pairing really nicely, and we try and think of making beers at the same time to match what the food, what the head chef wants to do with our food. So it is a team collaboration from that.
It's one of the better patios too in the valley. It looks over like a community lake area, and there's grass that leads down to it. So, and it's dog friendly on that patio. And you guys have done previous things in the past where you release like a dog friendly kind of like treat or something, collab with like a forget the name of like a little local pet store.
Yeah, we've done collabs with like Humane Society and Adopting Dogs, and we've done sort of all those things. And because we have that dog friendly patio and things along those nature, we were making dog treats from our spent grain for a little while. We've ceased doing that for a little bit, but we were doing that. But I mean, all of us, most, I'm gonna say 90% of us who work here are all born and raised here. So it's like we want to help out our community with not only delicious beer, but just help the community in general. So
when it says Phoenix on your shirt, you really are Phoenix. You put the Phoenix into the brewing company for sure.
We certainly try. So that's
I love that. Man, it's funny. I think a lot of people like underestimate how well food pairs with beer and like how like the variety and how it can be done at a very high level. I went to a beer versus wine dinner once where it was a very, very upscale 5-course meal. They had a winery there pairing different kinds of wine to each course. And then our friends at Huss were there pairing their beers to each course. And everybody voted on their favorite pairing. And the beer won.
Oh, fantastic!
And apparently it happens frequently. And I think it's because I'm pretty uneducated in wine, but like there are so many more varieties and flavor in beer than there are in wine.
Sure.
Where a stout versus a Kolsch versus a IPA versus you have this huge array of styles of beer, whereas the difference between a cab and a Pinot Noir, like they're both red and they have differences, but like it's not so obvious.
Yeah.
And so
their differences are a little more subtle comparatively to beer, where because of the malts that we use and the different yeast strains and hops, and you really do have a bigger depth of flavor in beer. Most of the times, I'm not going to say anything bad about wine because I also drink wine, but
sure.
But it is, not only that, the carbonation and stuff in beer actually helps your palate sort of open. And so that food, all those flavors from the food kind of come in more, which is what wine, one of the deficiencies wine has is they don't have, that carbonation because it's all still, unless you have a rosé or a champagne. Or
I just remember them pairing the steak with a stout. And that was everybody kind of was surprised by that because usually maybe you wouldn't think of doing that pairing, but it was really well done.
It almost seemed too filling to get through because steaks are usually pretty massive on your plate, and a stout is going to do the same thing in your belly. Yeah. What would this Oktoberfest pair with at the restaurant?
At the restaurant, the Oktoberfest really. Any of the proteins, because that caramel sweetness sort of will come through. So any of the burgers, chicken sandwiches, any sort of those things. We do have a fantastic chicken salad that's at the restaurant.
Yeah,
I hope we still have, but this would go absolutely great with that. So
there you go.
This style of beer I love because of that sweetness.
Yep.
I love cooking my brats.
Oh, sure.
With a little bit of this.
Sure, do the beer
brat, because it just kind of adds that sweetness to it.
Yeah, doing the nice thing where you're like having this and just being able to let the sausages sort of soak up that beer, and then being able to just sort of flash them on the grill and just sort of burn off that outside and just make them nice and get that nice char on.
Yeah, if you do it right,
still nice and soft in the middle.
Yeah, if you do it right, you get flavor of the beer and the sausage. Correct. Some people don't do it right, but I mean there's also skill to that.
Yeah, and people do tend to try and go the cheaper route where they'll use domestic light beer to do the same thing, but actually if you spend a little bit more money on that bigger, bolder flavored beer, you'd be surprised at how much that flavor comes through. I just think it makes it much more fulfilling when you're having those sausages after doing the process correctly. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
So
So what's your background with beer, and are you a home brewer? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Started as a home brewer, and then actually fell in love with it. Was making some pretty bad beers to start, and then started to figure it out. Started to figure out the science and started to figure out all those things and got really good at it. And then my wife went and moved to Chicago and for her job, and I had nothing to do out there. And I looked around and saw that there was a brewing school out in Chicago, and we moved out there, and I applied, signed up, went to it. And then basically the rest is history. And that was 17 years ago. So I've been basically professionally brewing in some capacity or in alcohol in some capacity for the last 16,
I want to know
years.
more about the bad brews. What did you mess up? What was really bad?
In Arizona, it's really hard to make lagers if you don't have temperature control and stuff, which is, as the home brewer, that's really the biggest issue I had was that once we moved to Chicago and I was still home brewing on my stove in Chicago because we lived in a very small apartment, that's when I was like, oh, I can put this lager fermenter right next to the window because it's 12 degrees outside and it'll keep it nice and cold and, you know, sort of thing. But yeah, then basically after I got done with school in Chicago, I moved around. I worked at Goose Island in Chicago, worked at a Metropolitan, which only makes lagers. They're a great brewery in Ravenswood. And, you know, sort of moved around. And then when my wife wanted to move back here because both her family and my family both live here, moved back here, got a job at Fort Peaks. I drank at Fort Peaks a lot in college because I went to ASU.
As we did all.
Yeah, because I went to ASU.
You're not alone in that.
And so when I came back, I talked to Fort Peaks. I got a job, worked there for 5 years. And then since then, I've sort of bounced around after that. And now I'm here. And I've loved sort of being here since the inception of the new beers and the new branding and the new everything, sort of being able to watch through hard work of our own, but also organically watching us grow and you know, not only that, but like really learn about the system way more and learn what the system can and can't do on making different beers and, you know, and not only that, but expansion. I mean, we got a canning line through all of this that we didn't have before. We used to have a bottling line here. We now have an 80-barrel fermenter out there, which is twice as big as any fermenter we've ever had before because we need it to be able to produce more beer, you know. And so those are really nice problems for us to have, and it's been really great being here sort of through that whole process. So
I love that. Well, you guys are doing a great job.
The tap room just opened and people are already here at noon on a Thursday. I like it. I mean, people like coming down here and maybe, you know, there is a lot of industry around here. Maybe people are on their lunch break.
Yes. we do get a nice little lunch crowd from people around here. Like Matt said, it's an industrial area, but all these nice guys started work at 6 a.m. this morning, getting whatever they needed done, and by noon they need a beer and a sandwich, or or a beer and a piece of pizza, and go back to work, and you know,
or a beer and a beer,
or a beer and a beer.
Yeah,
I'm not their boss. They can do whatever they want on lunch.
So I think we have time for maybe one more, and I was thinking maybe we could try something that, you know, dealer's choice. If you wanted to give us a little.
So I've always liked when you introduced the Beyond the Peel Blood Orange Pale. That was a new one maybe about in the last 2 years.
See, for me, it's the barrel aged Morenci Copper. That's
that was great. You guys brought one of those barrel ages out. Was that the one at Real Wild and Woody?
It was, yeah. We brought the barrel aged gold and the barrel aged Morenci Copper. The copper's got tart cherry juice and orange peel in it as well. So it's and all that was done in the barrel. And then the gold has fresh ginger and lemon peel in it, and all that also happened in the barrel. We got very fresh barrels from Heaven Hill, and when they showed up, they were just ready. And so I just took whatever was in the tank and went to the store and bought the extra things and went, I have to get stuff in these barrels right now. And the barrels were real receptive. We had another hot summer with like monsoon, so humid, and so the barrels were really like taking the beer in and putting it back out, and we really just got really quick transition, which was really nice.
I like that. If you're not watching on YouTube, Popeye just did a nice demonstration, kind of showing it. It's like the barrel slightly expands and then gives back a little bit.
Well, that's the idea behind barrel aging, right? It's like you want that wood to breathe in and breathe out. Those
staves are supposed to expand, and when they do, they open up all their little pores, and then the beer.
There's more goodness behind those pores,
but then those pores, whatever they had in there before, so the Heaven Hill and all that stuff, that then mixes with the beer in the staves, and then when it contracts and pushes everything out, it brings that bourbon out too. And so you get, you know, just a nice marriage between the beer and the alcohol from the barrels.
Awesome. Yeah, Heaven Hill distills products of like Elijah Craig and Rittenhouse.
Yeah, Elijah Craig, Rittenhouse. What else? there's a
I'm trying to remember. Those are the two kind of more popular ones. They have a Heaven Hill brand. I haven't been able to find it out here, but one of the larger distillers out there in the Southeast.
Yeah. But yeah, no, we lucked out. They had barrels that they weren't doing anything with, and we asked real nice, and a buddy of mine works for them, and he found them for us, and so we lucked out. But
That's awesome.
yeah, when I started here, I think we had 2 barrels, and now we're up to 14. So it's like
That's awesome.
We're trying to expand that program as much as we can, and because people like their barrel aged beers, and especially coming into the winter time where people tend to like to drink them a little bit more. We can start putting porter in there and some of the darker beers to have sort of a nice just portfolio of different colored barrel aged beers. Because I think that's one of the things that a lot of breweries do is they just have a barrel and they decide just to put something dark in. It's like, you don't only have to put dark stuff in there. You can, when my philosophy to the barrel aging is more of that food philosophy where it is sort of a, like, what flavors can I get to all meld together? Everyone knows what a whiskey ginger tastes like. Can I make a beer that sort of tastes like that? And that was the thought process behind the gold. I do like Manhattans, and as much as I drink beer, I am a bourbon and whiskey guy as well. And so, have a nice Manhattan with those cherries and that stuff. And it's like, can I put that all in one beer without having to add any of that stuff afterwards? Can I just make something that already tastes like that? So, so that's what I've been trying to do with the barrels, and, hopefully I keep getting to come up with just like good ideas.
Yeah. Have you had the red rye, the barrel aged red rye?
I have not.
Let's try that. Can we try that one?
Yeah.
Let's do
so
that.
While he is pouring, good reminder to all the people watching and listening to go on to azcraftbeer.com. Get your tickets for the Arizona Craft Beer Awards and Festival coming up Saturday, October 22nd, out on the great lawn of State Farm Stadium. There's an awesome building on, is it the south side? South side. It's called Heritage at Sportsman's Park. If you buy the VIP, you get access to that whole area. There's great shaded seating there. There's some more, like some concessions there, but we're going to have food trucks along with dozens and dozens of breweries. We already have, as of right now, September 15th, 11 breweries signed up, and that number doubled this week. So we're just expecting
probably thinking like 40 to 50 breweries
around Arizona coming. Yeah,
a couple thousand of your favorite beer loving friends.
The Great Lawn is going to hold a lot of beer loving friends.
That's right.
Day.
That's right. So,
and Popeye's going to be there, right?
I will be there. Yes.
Popeye and PHX Beer Co is going to be there.
We will be.
And you guys
signed up this week
just because we're
in that doubling of brewery.
Yeah, it's because we're starting out with the inaugural Craft Beer Awards here for Arizona.
Yep.
Something that kind of was attempted once, but we're going to bring it back and we're going to do it right. And we're going to have judging coming up the weekend of the 17th and 18th. I'll probably put this episode out on Monday, by the way. So
it will already have happened.
Yeah, it will already have happened.
Judging.
I am one of the judges. Yep.
And
love that.
You've been qualified as a judge for a while, right? In your career?
I've done other judging competitions when I was in Chicago. I judged for the World Beer Cup when it was being judged in Chicago, as well as homebrew competitions and stuff like that. Yeah.
And just for everyone so that everyone that doesn't know how judging works, everything is judged blind. If a judge thinks they know what beer they're trying, they're supposed to recuse themselves from the judging of that beer. So there's a lot of integrity in judging beer. That's why brewers can theoretically judge their own beer if they don't know it's their own beer. So we're super excited to have your chops with the judging.
There is a good amount of back end work that happens from the people who are setting it all up, that if they know your brewery has put a beer into a category, you probably won't end up judging that category, so you don't have that problem. But because the beers for this judging competition are Arizona only, it's like a lot of us have had a lot of the beers, but doing it blind is always way more difficult than people think it
is. Yeah, we did
it has to be something super obvious, like the Sonoran white chocolate, which you guys
we do make
brew. I feel like that one you could probably pick out blind, but
like maybe Bananarchy or something from Oso. I don't know if there's going to be a whole lot that I can tell from what we did on our sample. I was tasting and we were drinking, I think they served us, what was it, like a Coors Original and PBR.
Banquet and PBR.
And I was like, maybe this is Huss Orange Blossom or something. And I'm so way off. I'm like, I had no clue. But I mean, the styles were there. They hit all the marks. So, and that's what they're looking for.
Yeah. That's the most important thing about the judging is more what did they do correct or what did they do incorrect in the beer, not necessarily whether you like it or not.
Right.
Like you have to go in from having that mentality
that's what we do our Phoenix Magazine Reader's Choice Awards for is did you like it or not? Let people vote for that.
For
but
sure.
this is a professional
Popularity
judge.
contest, and this is
right.
All right, so tell us about this
So
beautiful thing.
Yeah, so we made a rye IPA, and we made it red. So we used 3 different crystal malts in it, and then we hopped it at 3 different times. And then we put it in the barrel because hops are not usually a thing you throw into barrels and sort of get any characteristic out. And what we end up finding is that the barrel aging process got rid of all the hops and aroma, and then it just sort of became a caramelly sweet sort of beer. But once again, the barrel was pretty fresh, and the barrel gave us kind of what we needed. It gave us a little bit of funk, but that funk came with the barrel, and actually I think it makes it a little more depth of flavor in that where it's sweet and it has that sort of funk, but it's not like a sour funk. It's just sort of a
it
like
really does, and
funk.
it's only 6% or 6.3, so it's not a barrel age that's going to knock you on your seat after, and you can only do like 4 ounces. You know, like most barrel aged products on the market will tell you it's 14% or you know it goes up in ABV as you age it or something. This is I liken this to kind of like a dessert beer. I would like.
What's nice is like that funk you're talking about. It's just at the very back of the throat, and after like the second or third sip,
it's gone.
It's not really there anymore, and it's not a bad funk, but it's maybe unexpected.
Yeah, it's a product of barrels because those staves have bacteria and stuff in them, and you don't really know till you throw it in there. And what you do is you hope to sort of mitigate how much of that goes into the beer, and it's not always the easiest thing to be able to do. So
again, not that the funk is bad, but like outside of it, or once it's gone, which for me it's already gone, it's just that like really kind of caramelly rye marriage of those 2 flavors, and it's really good.
It's almost like candy bar in a way with how much caramel is really coming out, and the aroma, you get the barrel on the aroma, but not so much the tongue so much.
I would agree with that. That was more in the barrel aging process. Is obviously the longer you keep it in there, more of that flavor comes through and the aroma sticks around. But we took it out of the barrel a little faster than we would have, just because that funk started to present itself. And so it was like, all right, do I just give this more time and hope for the best, or do we just get it out of there and whatever? And sort of as a team, we decided like, let's just get it out of there. We do like the way it tastes now.
For sure.
Is that a daily taste that you guys do that, or is that?
I wish. No, it's not. I mean, you can just go insane trying to taste a barrel every single day and making sure. But we try and do it.
Finish the barrel off.
We do try and do it at least once a month, sort of when I have time. But it is sort of a check to make sure everything's heading in the right direction, sort of thing. We had a tequila barrel that we tried to use, and it didn't do anything for a while, and so we just went, well, maybe this barrel's just not going to give us anything. But it was used a couple times before we got it, so it's like it's going to lose a little bit of that character.
Do barrels typically have like a cap for how many times you can age stuff in them?
They do, yeah. There's only so much stuff in the staves when you get them, and so eventually you just kind of get like an oaky beer instead, which is not bad, but that once again has to be a style choice thing.
You'd want to
make sure you just want to
aim for
beer,
that. Sure.
So when you finish, when you've used a barrel a couple times and you can't really age it anymore unless you just want that oakiness, do you return it to? I mean, do they reuse it for maybe like whiskey again or something like that, or is it typically just
because of the strict barrel aging rules for whiskey and bourbon and stuff? They are only supposed to use there so many times, but they aren't supposed to use it after we use it for sure. We actually, we have good customers who use them as planters. They'll take the barrels when we're not using them anymore, and they'll take them home, cut them in half, make planters out of them. You've seen sort of those tables that people make out of them and stuff like that. Like, we just tell people like
these things are expensive. If you get one, that
and we basically for the most part we're like, you come get it out of our building, it's yours because you're helping us by getting it out of the building. And then it's that thing where it's like buyer's choice. It's like this has had whiskey and beer in it. It's not clean inside. Like it's as clean as I can make it, but like you're gonna have to do your own cleaning and otherwise, so a lot of people use them for outside stuff. So that's why people cut them in half. Then they're able to sort of power wash the inside and then put all their plants and plant
I have a friend who got one from Oso a year ago and turned it into an outside table, and you can get a cover for it, and they make that kind of stuff now, and he did a really good job of sanding it down and then applying the lacquer and stuff, staining it and everything, and it's a great little card table for outdoors. Whiskey barrels are hot right now.
So I know that there are, for like higher production kind of barrel aging, people use chips instead of the barrel age, because then you can put it in a big old tank, dump a bunch of chips in there. Yeah. What are the pros?
Like mesquite chips or?
Yeah, or I've heard of them basically using like shredded barrels.
Yeah. You can get chips that have different flavors. You can get, but not that like specific different, brands. So when you can't get a barrel and you do have the ability to age it in something. So at a brewery I worked at that was smaller, didn't have any barrels. I wanted to make a bourbon pecan porter for Thanksgiving time. So what I did is I took the pecans and half of them I toasted, and the other half I actually took a handle of Maker's Mark and just soaked the pecans in the bourbon. And then I threw a couple of oak chips in there as well. And then basically all of that went into the beer. And so I strained the whiskey out of the pecans. So the pecans actually swelled and soaked up some of that bourbon. And then those toasty notes. So when the beer came out, it was like toasty and bourbony and like nutty and, and it was just in a porter. So it was real, easy drinking porter. I didn't put too much roast in it, too much chocolate in it. And so it just sort of like all the flavors sort of melded. And it did just sort of taste like you were sitting by a campfire at Thanksgiving, with like having like that last like bourbon, but that little bit of smokiness was like you were smoking a cigar sitting outside the fire.
You just planted like Inception into my brain. I'm going to be thinking about that one all weekend. Yes. Nice shot, Papa. Is that coming back to Phoenix Beer Co? Is that recipe coming? I want that beer.
There may or may not be a barrel that has some of those things in it right now. I cannot confirm or deny that. I love it.
That's good. He's Popeye in our phone. So as soon as that text comes through, we know it's time.
Yeah,
let's go time.
Yeah, you guys will run from your office to come in.
So, is there an advantage or a disadvantage to using chips as opposed to the barrels themselves?
Advantage, disadvantage is really a space thing. I mean, if you don't have enough space in your thing to have barrels in your brewery to have barrels, you can definitely get good flavors doing it that way. The more traditionalist and traditional ways to try and use the barrel, but no brewer will ever give another brewer any flack for being like, yeah, you have a very small brewery, you don't have room for barrels. I'm happy you could get these flavors out. Almost sort of going the more homebrew route, but I don't want to call it that. But that's what a lot of homebrewers do who don't have barrels, is they want to make a barrel aged something. They'll use the chips and stuff. But I mean, the chips are pretty much an industry standard at this point. It's not as if they're taboo or anything.
You got to look for creative ways to do things sometimes, right? Sure. I mean, I think the one disadvantage is the splinters that come out. Those are hard to get out sometimes.
Especially when they're down.
Out there. Those ones in the throat. Maybe that's why guys who drink whiskey sound like this,
I love that winter. Awesome. Well, thanks, man. I think that do you have any fun, exciting things coming up for you guys? Obviously other than the Arizona Craft Beer Awards?
I mean, the Craft Beer Awards, obviously. No, we just released a Hefeweizen for us, which is a traditional German style hef,
and it's very good.
Banana, clove, no fruit or anything, just a traditional hef. And then the Oktoberfest, like I said, we're releasing this week. We have a new IPA that's in the tank that we don't have a name for yet, but it's an experimental one, but we think we've pretty much hammered that recipe down. So that'll be
I like it.
Matt's really good at names. So if you wanted us to come in without the recording equipment, try it, maybe do a little brainstorming, I'm sure Matt would be okay.
If you listen to the Look Brewing episode, we gave Marissa a bunch of movie themed names. So I can
He had some good ones.
brainstorm. Yeah, movie themed. That was a lot of fun coming up with that.
I'll let you guys think about it. We try and have everything a little Phoenix, like nod to Phoenix sort of name. Like
Love that.
Our North Rim Hazy IPA because of the Grand Canyon, and Monsoon, our tropical IPA. Both of those beers will be at the festival.
Yeah.
Monsoon, obviously, because of our monsoon season, and Arizona Gold because of all the gold mine. We're trying and make everything sort of as sort of on brand as we can. So
I like it. Yeah.
Cool. Well, make sure if you haven't been to Phoenix Beer Co., make sure you come check it out. We're at 30th Street.
It's a great tap room. I've come here with the wife many times, and you can sit on their indoor. It's like an indoor-outdoor patio. It's made to look outdoors, but it's indoors, so you don't have to roast outside.
Right. And it's in their brewing facility.
It's fun. There's picnic tables.
It's right between the tap room and the brewery and the tanks. People love sitting out there to actually just stare at the tanks, and it's fun. And we'll be out there on the canning liner brewing, and you'll just see people just staring at us, like sitting at a table, so excited because they feel like they're a part of.
Are you guys? Do you feel like you're in a zoo that way, or do you guys interact with the customer?
We interact with the customer.
Right,
we like to come over and at least say hi to them, and at least and then you inevitably have questions like, "What are you doing right now?" And you just you like try to explain. You explain the process and stuff. But it's
an experience.
It is an experience, and it's an experience unlike a lot of other tap rooms.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you can't get up close and personal like you can here at the Phoenix Beer Co. tap room. So
and there's no glass or anything. You're right there. You smell everything. You hear everything. You hear if somebody drops something on their foot, you hear it, thing. And I do actually like that aspect of our patio that all that works. So
my one of my favorite smells is brew day smell. All right, man. Well, thank you, Popeye. Really appreciate it.
For coming down.
Check out the festival at azcraftbeer.com, and we'll see you in October.